Love that song. Okay, so we are going to continue today to talk about healing. We're going to be talking about healing through a number of ways over the next weeks. And today in particular, we're going to be talking about that through the power of self-love. But I first want to start with a little joke about just a joke. Decided one day that he wanted to do a demonstration to share with his congregation the negative effects of drinking alcohol, of smoking cigarettes, and of eating too much chocolate. So to do this, he took some worms. I'm about to move in for some reason. Let me try it again. There we go. Okay, took some worms. And he put one worm, I'm not moving again. Okay, he put one worm in a jar of alcohol. He put another worm in a jar of cigarette smoke, and he put another worm in a jar of Hershey's chocolate. And Daryl, are you just having to follow with me right now? Okay, and then he put another worm in a container of really good soil. So he goes on and he does this sermon, and he gets to the end of the sermon, and the worm that was in the alcohol died, the worm that was in the chocolate died, the worm that was in the cigarette smoke died, but the worm that was in the good soil was very healthy and very much alive. So he says, to the congregation, what is it that you have learned from this demonstration? And a woman in the back raised her hands and she said, as long as you drink, smoke, and eat chocolate, you won't have worms. You can pop to the next one. I think it's blank, yes. Okay, so that's one way of healing, I guess, we could look at. But like I said, for a few weeks, we're going to be looking at physical healing. And last week, we talked about healing through forgiveness. And we're going to continue to be talking about that for a few weeks because there's many, many ways for us to look at forgiveness of others and forgiveness of ourselves. And we are continuing along that line with this idea of self-love this week. But a couple things that I want to say in advance. That number one, illness is not a spiritual failure. And number two, death is not a failure. Death is not an end. Everything in nature dies, and what we know is its essence never dies. That over and over again we see that things, it changes form. And so I want to be very, very clear because the idea of today is to empower us and not to send us down a road of I'm not doing it good enough, I'm not enough, what am I doing wrong, what am I thinking to cause this? Please let that go for now. Let's focus on today. Today is my point of power. And I'm not saying that sometimes I do go back and I do look at things if I'm having reoccurring things happening. But sometimes we can get stuck in the muck. And we can get stuck then in thinking, we're doing it wrong, I'm not good enough, I'm not spiritual enough. And today I want you to be empowered. I want you to know that you are good enough, you are spiritual enough, and that you have everything you need to shift your experience if that's your choice to shift it. I also want to encourage us to let go of it having to be a quote-unquote natural healing. Now, we've seen that evidenced many times here. We've seen people that have all of a sudden something has just disappeared in their body. And it can happen, absolutely. I just don't want us to get so stuck in that we miss the markers along the way that will guide us to what it is that we really desire. I am grateful for my chiropractors, my massage therapists, my acupuncturists, my primal reflex healers, my Reiki masters, my reflexologists, my herbs and natural supplements, and I am grateful for traditional medicine and for DOs and for MDs and nurses and surgeons and hospitals and all that goes along with that. God is in all of it. And the moment somebody tells you there's only one right way, run. Because there's not. Yeah. There's a lot of modalities, there's a lot of ways, and the main thing is that you line up with your inner guidance and you follow that with joy wherever that leads you. And I want to say, I don't mean to be admonishing, but for the rest of you, don't put people down for the choices they've made. Support them in their choices. Be there for them in their choices because their journey is not your journey. Okay, so here we go. Okay, now, Charles Fillmore says, go to God first, and then to man as directed by God. And I love that. Yet, in any of this journey, in any type, especially when we're working with healing, we will be bombarded in a good way. Everybody's very good intentioned in bringing their ideas about what will work. But go to God first, and then, as you are inspired, go to man. I love the scripture from Proverbs that says, in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. In all thy ways acknowledge that God is in the midst of this. God is guiding me. I'm going there first, because then the next step and the next step and the next step will be made absolutely clear. So, for the next few minutes, I want you to be amazed. I want you to be in awe. I want you to really focus on how fabulously and wonderfully you have been made. And I'm going to read something to you from a book called Your Mind Can Heal You. Daryl could, yes, thank you, by Frederick Bales. And he says, every single one of us was at one point one cell. And in that infinitesimal first cell was the plan or the blueprint of you. And the remarkable substance, DNA, that is in every cell of your body. All of the vast quantity of information needed to build these amazing bodies of ours are encoded into the long, slender threads of DNA, which are so thin that they can only be seen under powerful magnification. Now just think about this, because this is just amazing. But if uncoiled, they would stretch out 4 or 5 feet. Dr. George Beadle estimated that if the coded information in that one cell could be put into words, it would fill an encyclopedia 1,000 times. 1,000 times. That cell had potentialities because it was indwelt by the whole intelligence of God, which immediately began to follow the plan, the end of which it saw from the beginning. For a period of 280 days, that intelligence demonstrated its activity. That one cell divided into 2 by a process so complicated, it would amaze us were we able to observe it in its every change. Those 2 into 4, and 4 into 8, 8 into 26, and so on until billions of cells were in existence. Remember that all of these cells came out of the original cell. Think of this. It's as though a carpenter would take a miraculous splinter and construct an entire house out of it, getting floors, walls, sides, ceilings out of it as he needed them. It's pretty awesome to think of it that way. The original cell was soft and jelly-like, but out of that soft and jelly-like cell came all of these other cells of different textures. Some toughened into fibers where they were bound together in muscles. Some developed into cartilage, then into hard bone. Hinges and joints were put in the right places. Muscles were attached to the bony framework at exactly the right spots so they could move this rigid frame rapidly over the earth. Some cells developed into highly sensitive threads along which could fly the lightning-like messages sent by the resident of this growing temple, the mind. All this built before the child is completed. Some cells were built into a tiny, powerful pump called the heart, the most durable organ in the body. As the bones developed, openings were left in just the exact spots, little round or odd-shaped holes through which nerves and blood vessels passed to various parts of the body. In 280 days, mind, intelligence, God has built a complicated organism of belts, pulleys, hinges, trapdoors, with kitchen, pantry, dining room, complete hot water system, air conditioned to keep the temperature at 98.6 degrees, and even wired for sound. It is not reasonable to think that God, mind, intelligence, then loses interest in the complicated organism it has created. It dwells within it, and it uses it as a vehicle for its activities. And that is you, and that is me. We, my friends, each and every one of us, we are the temple of the living God. In 1 Corinthians 6:19-20, it says, "Do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own. Therefore, honor God with your body." This is the temple. This is the temple of God. Right where you are the temple of God. in this manifested reality. Myrtle Fillmore said, "It is his temple, you know, and you have no right." Are you ready to hear this? You have no right to think anything short of perfection about it. How many of us have thought less than perfection about our bodies? Stay seated. Figured that was easier. Oh, wait, let me sit down. And I love that where she's saying, you know, this is God's temple. And yet, what is it that we even just think about this temple, much less do to this temple? The intelligence that created the body to begin with, and I love this, knows how to heal the structure it has built. It knew how to build those cells out of nothing. It certainly knows how to build new cells when something has happened to sicken the old ones. Makes sense, doesn't it? Our part is to cooperate with this divine intelligence. Now, again, I want to make sure I'm clear. Illness is not a failure. Death is not a failure. Many times there's a bigger, more mysterious picture that we cannot see. I have journeyed through many experiences where somebody has had the deep, deep desire to live, but something in this greater plan, that was not the direction for them. But I will say that healing doesn't always mean a cure. We're going to be focused on healing for this period of time, but I mean actually moving to a cure, actually. But healing can also mean, I read something about a woman who had cancer, and she decided to heal within the cancer experience, meaning that she decided that she was going to live her best life within the experience of cancer, whether or not her cancer was cured. You know, so recognize there's many ways that we can look at this. But what we're going to look at is to move our bodies into the best possible experience of health and wholeness. Isn't that where we want to be? How many of us want to be healthy, want to wake up feeling great, want to have energy? We all want that. We want to live while we're alive, right? Right. So the question, sorry about this, I need to get this better, is healing possible? You know, because you may be sitting there going, no way, you know, this is a terminal illness, people have, you know, died from this, no way. So I want to share with you just real quickly some things from Scripture. Leprosy was healed. Jesus healed a centurion's servant at a distance. He didn't have to be right there. Healed Peter's mother-in-law of a fever. Healed a paralytic. Healed a bleeding woman, been bleeding for 12 years. Gave sight to blind men. Restored a withered hand. Cured a boy of seizures. Cured a deaf man who could not speak. Healed a crippled woman. Healed a man's cut ear. Healed an official's son. Healed a paralyzed man who had been paralyzed for 38 years. Raised a man from the dead. And you know what the Scripture said? He healed every disease and sickness. And so many times we want to categorize ourselves and say, yeah, but, this is different. And I want to tell you that it's not. It's not. That with and through God, all things are possible. He healed every disease and sickness. So yes, healing is possile. Now, what I want to share with you today, if you could pop one more, is some of Myrtle Fillmore, and from the book Mother of Unity. Now, because this is where I was so guided to go with loving our bodies, because I think the first thing that we have to do, because we're going to move into self-forgiveness, but right now, it's time for us to be loving and appreciating our bodies. And I know I've talked about this in the last weeks, and yet I would ask how many of us have actually, said really good things to our bodies in the last week. Yay! Yay! And it's such an important part of this journey. Now, Myrtle Fillmore, as most of you know, was diagnosed with tuberculosis. She was given 6 months to live. She was very, 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 very sick. She had had this as a younger child and was told that she would be sick. So she was told she inherited this. Went to a workshop by E.B. Weeks and came away with the affirmation that said, I am a child of God, therefore I do not inherit sickness. So this really took hold in her. But I want to share with you the way that she used this in a practical way. So she said that She made what seems to be a discovery. She was really, really sick. She had illness of all kinds of ills of mind and body. Medicines and doctors ceased to give her any relief, and she was in despair. She said that this is how I made what I call my discovery. I was thinking about life. Life is everywhere, in worm and in man. Then why does not the life in the worm make a body like man's, I asked. Then I thought, the worm has not as much sense as man. Intelligence. Intelligence, as well as life, is needed to make a body. Here is the key to my discovery. Life has to be guided by intelligence in making all forms. The same law works in my own body. Life is simply a form of energy. Isn't that great? That many years ago she got that. Life is simply a form of energy and has to be guided and directed in man's body by his intelligence. How do we communicate intelligence? By thinking and talking, of course. Then it flashed upon me that I might talk to the life in every part of my body and have it do just what I wanted. I began to teach my body, and I got marvelous results. I want to share with you some of the things that she shared with her body. I told the life in my liver that it was not torpid or inert, but full of vigor and energy. I told the life in my stomach that it was not weak and inefficient, but energetic, strong, and intelligent. I told the life in my abdomen that it was no longer infested with ignorant ideas of disease put there by myself and by my doctors, but that it was all athrill with the sweet, pure, wholesome energy of God. I told my limbs that they were active and strong. I told my eyes that they did not see of themselves, but that they expressed the sight of spirit, and that they were drawing on an unlimited source. I told them that they were young eyes, clear, bright eyes, because the light of God shone right through them. I told my heart that the pure love of Jesus Christ flowed in and out through its beatings, and that all the world felt its joyous pulsation. So can you see how even just going to the various areas in her body and speaking, literally speaking to them, not as though they were something separate, but that she could value them and feel the importance of them. And she knew that for so long she had been thinking these wrong ideas that she even went to her body and asked her body for forgiveness for the ways that she had been thinking about it, for the ways that she hadn't been taking care of it. And of course, we know that in the realm of God, there is no quote-unquote forgiveness needed. The body immediately is going to respond to that. The body is going to immediately respond to love, because love is the one and only power. Love is the answer. Love is the great healer. So moving from this place now, she is now speaking empowering words to her body, to her temple. Now, when somebody speaks empowering words to you, what do? Exactly. It's like we're feeding our bodies something that they have been deprived of for so long. This is what we're made of, my friends. We are made of love. And when we feed our bodies these empowering, loving thoughts, they're just like, everything in us is just like sponges going, oh, yes, that's who I am. Yes, that's what I am. They will respond. They will respond. Our body will respond to our loving energy and to our loving thoughts. She said she went to all the life centers in her body and spoke words of truth to them, words of strength and power. I asked their forgiveness for the foolish, ignorant course that I had pursued in the past, when I had condemned them and called them weak, inefficient, and diseased. Oh, my dumb leg. Oh, my stupid back. Oh, how many? Yes. Would you ever consider saying that? First of all, would you ever consider saying that to somebody else? Oh, your stupid leg. Oh, your dumb back. No, my goodness. But think about, this is the temple. This is the temple of God. And we're saying negative things about the temple of God. And yet the moment that we start to turn it to love, and we start speaking empowering words, it is going to respond to us. Now, I want you to hear this. She said, I did not become discouraged at their being slow to wake up, but I kept right on, both silently and aloud, declaring these words of truth until the organs responded. And neither did I forget to tell them that they were free, unlimited spirit. I told them that they were not corruptible flesh, but centers of life and energy omnipresent. And that is a huge part of this, my friends, because we are the quick fix people. So I want to see that something is happening right away in my body. And if it's not happening, this stuff isn't working. And I often think, well, how long have I been saying negative things to my body? My goodness, it is time to start pouring in the good stuff and stay with it, and stay with it, and stay with it, and stay with it, and stay with it. Days, weeks, months passed, but in 1888, 2 years of patience and perseverance, Myrtle Fillmore declared herself completely healed, and she lived till she was 86 years old, healthy. Healthy. One back. So your prescription for health is love your body. Spend time every day loving and praising your body. Appreciate it. Give it positive attention and encouragement. Do this every day for the rest of your life. This is a prescription for the rest of your life. If you'll go on for just a moment. Masaru Emoto had done some work with water and with crystals. And it was fascinating stuff that he did, where he would take water and he would place it in these little tubes, and he would either place words on it, or he would have people speak words to it. And the interesting thing about it was that negative words created really crazy looking molecules of water. Positive words, positive intention always created the more beautiful crystal. And over and over and over again, he did these crystals. Here's one with love and gratitude. This is thank you. You know, and we are a minimum of 70% water, my friends, a minimum of 70% water. So imagine that when we're thinking these and saying these negative things about our bodies, literally we have these molecules in there that are just all messed up. But simply by being in love and gratitude and praising and thanking our body, we shift the ways that our molecules are showing up in our body. So I want to close with, and if you'll have to go with me one at a time on this, and I'm going to invite you to say this with me. I am fabulous. I am wondrously made. I am an amazing specimen. I am awesomely created. I am a miracle walking. I love myself. I love myself. I send loving thoughts and speak loving words to every aspect of my physicality. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I want to encourage you that, throughout your week to spend some time. I mean, and it ends up being really fun. You can look down at your feet and say, thank you so much. You're such beautiful feet. And I love my toes. And thank you so much for being able that I can stand here. And thank you to my ankles for being strong, keep me balanced. And thanks to my knees for being able, I'm so flexible. And thank you to my muscles. And thank you to my stomach. Thank you, and work through your body and say thank you to everything over and over and over again. I promise you, if you stay with this, you will see amazing, amazing results in your physicality. Money back guaranteed. Money back guaranteed. And if you order today, you will get an extra body growing out of you. Namaste.